Imagine this. It's 1964. The sun is harsh. The ground is dry. Somewhere near the ruins of ancient Sparta, a group of archaeologists is digging quietly. Nothing dramatic, no music, no tension, just dirt and patience. They've been working for days, carefully lowering tools into an old well shaft. At first, it's routine: stone, dust, broken pottery. Then suddenly, one of them stops, because what comes up next isn't stone, it's bone. Small, fragile, too small. Another one comes up, then another, and then dozens. Infant skeletons, tiny skulls, some cracked, some deformed, some no more than a few days old. The air changes. No one says anything, but everyone understands what they're looking at. For decades, the explanation had already been written. Sparta killed its weak children. It was in textbooks. It was in documentaries. It was in movies. It was simple, clean, brutal, but easy to understand. Sparta equals ruthless. End of story. But then something didn't fit, because as they kept digging, they found more bones, bigger bones, adult bones, men, women, people who had lived long lives. And now, they were lying in the same place as the infants. And suddenly, that simple story, it breaks. Because think about it. What kind of society throws both its newborn babies and its fully grown citizens into the same well? This isn't just cruelty. This is something else, something deeper, something structured. And that's where our story begins. Not with warriors, not with Leonidas, not with 300 Spartans, but with a system so controlled, so calculated, that even today, we still don't fully understand what we're looking at. Before Sparta became a legend, it became afraid. Go back to the 8th century BC. Sparta is not yet the powerhouse you imagine. It's just another Greek city-state. But then, it expands. It conquers a neighboring land called Messenia. Now normally, in the ancient world, conquest meant two things: kill or expel. But Sparta did something different. They kept the people alive, not out of mercy, but out of necessity. Those people became known as Helots, and from that moment, Sparta stopped being just a city. It became something closer to a machine. Helots did everything. They farmed the land. They harvested grain. They raised animals. They produced food. They sustained the entire Spartan system. And Spartans, they didn't farm. They didn't trade. They trained. Now pause for a second, because here's the problem. The Helots massively outnumbered the Spartans. Not by a little, by a lot. Some sources say 7-1. Others suggest even higher. Just imagine that tension. You are a Spartan. You are part of a tiny ruling class. And around you are thousands of people who hate you. People who remember their freedom. People who remember their land. People who remember what they lost. And every single day, they are watching, waiting. Because rebellion is not a question of if, it's a question of when. And then one day, it happens. The Messenians rise, and this is not a small uprising. This is war. Fields burn. Supply lines collapse. Sparta is pushed to the edge. Think about that. Not by some distant empire, but by the people working their own land. Ancient writers describe this period as desperate. Spartan soldiers are not fighting foreigners. They are fighting people they see every day. People who grow their food. People who know their land better than they ever will. And for a moment, it looks like Sparta might fall. But it doesn't. It survives. Barely. And survival changes everything. Because from that moment on, Sparta is no longer trying to be great. It is trying to survive. And survival demands control. total control. So Sparta rebuilds itself, not as a city, but as a system designed to answer one question: how do we stay in power forever? And their answer is one of the most extreme social experiments in human history. Imagine being born in Sparta. You are not born into a family, you are born into a function. At age 7, everything changes. You are taken, not asked, not encouraged. Taken from your mother, from your home, from everything familiar, and placed into something called the agog. This is not a school. It is not an academy. It is not a place for learning. It is a system of transformation, from child to weapon. Boys are grouped together, not as students, but as units. They're given one cloak for the entire year. No shoes, no bedding. They sleep on reeds, pulled from riverbanks, with their bare hands. Winter comes, doesn't matter. Cold, doesn't matter. Pain, irrelevant. Because the goal is not comfort. The goal is adaptation. And then comes the hunger. Food is never enough. Never. Not because Sparta is poor, but because Sparta is precise. The boys are kept hungry, deliberately. Why? Because hunger teaches. It sharpens the mind. It pushes the body. It forces action. They are expected to steal food, supplies, whatever they can. But here's the rule. If you succeed, nothing happens. If you fail, you are beaten, not for stealing, for being caught. Think about the lesson here. This isn't morality. This is efficiency. This is teaching children. Do what you must. Just don't fail. And slowly, something begins to disappear. Hesitation? There's a story. You've probably heard it. A Spartan boy steals a fox, hides it under his cloak. An adult approaches. The boy freezes. The fox begins to panic. It bites, claws, tears into the boy's stomach. Blood starts to spread under the cloak. The boy says nothing. He doesn't move. He doesn't scream. He doesn't react. He dies, standing still. Now maybe the story is exaggerated. Maybe it's symbolic. But that's not the point. The point is, Spartans told this story to their children. As an example, as a standard, because what mattered was not survival. It was control. Complete control over instinct, over pain, over fear. As the boys grow older, training intensifies. They fight each other, bare hands, no rules, no mercy. They are pushed to exhaustion, to injury, to collapse. Because Sparta is not looking for strength. It is looking for endurance beyond breaking point. Public rituals test them further. At temples, boys are whipped, not punished, tested. They bleed, they collapse. Some die, and the crowd watches. Foreign visitors even come, just to see it. And what determines success? Silence. Because if you can remain silent under pain, you can remain steady in battle. And if you remain steady in battle, you don't break formation. And if you don't break formation, you don't die. At least, that's the theory. Now we reach the part that changes everything. Because everything so far, still visible, still understandable. But it's hidden. Each year, the strongest young men are selected, given a dagger. Nothing else. No armor, no backup, no supplies, and sent into the countryside at night. Their mission? Not war, not defense, elimination. They hunt helots, not in battle, but in silence. They target the strong, the confident, the leaders, anyone who could inspire rebellion. They are removed, quietly, systematically. And here's the chilling part. Every year, Sparta officially declares war on the helots, not because war is happening, but to make killing them legally acceptable. This isn't chaos. This is policy. This is control, taken to its absolute extreme. Now go back to Leonidas, the king, the hero, the legend. But now, see him differently. He is not just a warrior, he is a product, a man shaped by decades of conditioning, every instinct controlled, every reaction trained, every fear removed. He doesn't stand at Thermopylae because he is brave. He stands there because he was never given another option. Now, the most famous story, the 300 Spartans. But here's what you weren't told. Leonidas didn't choose them randomly. He didn't pick the strongest or the most skilled. He chose men who already had sons. Why? Because if they died, their lineage continued. Their loss would not weaken Sparta. This wasn't heroism. This was math. Thermopylae wasn't just sacrifice. It was strategy, a narrow pass, where numbers meant nothing. And for 3 days, it worked. Until betrayal, a hidden path revealed, encirclement inevitable. And Leonidas makes his final move, not to win, but to delay. The final battle is not glorious, not cinematic. It is brutal, desperate. Spears break, swords shatter, men fight with hands, teeth, anything left. And then they die. So now ask yourself, when you admire Sparta, what are you really admiring? Strength or control? Courage or conditioning? Because Sparta didn't just create warriors, it created a system where men no longer had a choice. If you want more stories like this, subscribe. Because here, we don't just tell history, we question it.